Hey, Who fans, and welcome to the Big Blue Box Podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Harry.
I'm Mark. Hello.
My name is Matt.
Her name's Maria.
And I'm Jordan.
Welcome to the June Roundtable. Welcome to another month, another roundtable at the Big Blue Box. As you can see, we have people not paying attention, or technical gremlins, or take your pick. But the bottom line is we're all here. We're all here to do the June Roundtable. So I hope you're keeping well, Doctor Who Big Blue Box listener. I hope you are doing something Doctor Who related, whether that is going back and watching some of the old stuff, listening to some Doctor Who soundtracks, reading a book, reading an old Target book, listening to some Big Finish, whatever you are doing. We all hope that you are keeping very well and safe and doing something Doctor Who related. This month on the June Roundtable, we are going to be talking about stuff that we would like to see in Doctor Who in the future, but not the standard, I think they should make an episode where this happens and that happens. Let's do something different where, let's talk about extended media. So let's do the whole, wouldn't it be cool if these characters and this storyline was in a video game or a book or something else, trading card game, whatever it might be. So these guys are going to give us their thoughts and their cool ideas because, as you all know, these guys are the brains of the outfit. I must admit. Every time we do these roundtables and we have a theme, no matter what it is, these guys always bring the goods. So I'm looking forward to seeing, or hearing, should I say, what you guys have got for these ideas. Before we get on to that, though, before I do the quick roundtable and just make sure you guys are all good, make sure you are following or subscribing to this podcast in whatever podcast app you prefer. You can find us on all the directories, or just go over to bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. You can listen to these over there as well for free, and you can check out all of the reviews and articles from this lot over on the website as well. So go and do that. So first up, who was first to join? Who was punctual? Harry, how you doing, buddy? How's life treating you at the minute?
Yeah, I'm all right. Thank you, Gary. I'm all right. In terms of Doctor Who related stuff, I have very nearly finished season 3. In the huge Doctor Who marathon. I've literally just got the last part of the War Machines to watch. The reason why that's been so slow, that marathon, is something which I'll go into detail about in the article I'm going to write, just to plug that. War Machines really good. Savages, I was so surprised by that. Like, I've never seen that one before, and I loved it. I thought it was so clever, and it was, I think, actually my favourite missing episode so far. That's been interesting. I went to a convention. I went to MCon in Nottingham. I met some cool Doctor Who people. I met Mandip Gill, Paul McGann, Arthur Darvill, Julian Glover, who was in The Crusade and City of Death. That was really fun as well. And I also bought a bunch of figures as well, including this Sensorite right here. Obviously, this is a podcast, so people can't see this, but he's still got his goofy-looking circular feet, which I absolutely adore. A lot of Doctor Who stuff going on right now, Gary, which is always good.
Yeah, I was going to say. I thought you were just going to say, I've read a bit of a book. Yeah, other than that,
and watch the odd episode. You know.
Nice one, dude. You've been busy with Doctor Who. Very cool. Mr. Mark, how are you, buddy? You've been busy of late. I've seen your Twitter's just full all the time at the minute.
Is it?
Got to do this article. Got to do this thing. Got to go to this event. Oh.
Sure. I haven't been to many events. Although I'm going to see Janet Fielding on Saturday. She's doing a kind of afternoon tea in this sort of very eccentric hotel in Margate, so that should be a real laugh. My friend Robert is doing the Q&A, so yeah, nice. I think that's going to be a very lovely afternoon. But aside from that, I built my Lego TARDIS. I finally got one of those after how long's that been in the shops? Like 20 years or 10 years or something like that. And I've been playing Lego Dimensions because I wanted that for years, and then I finally thought, you know what? It's cheap now on eBay. You can get a little little packs and stuff. So I've been playing the Doctor Who Lego game, which hands down, it's the best Doctor Who video game of all time because you can put John Pertwee in the Batmobile.
What's not to love? Yeah.
What's not to like about that? That's perfect.
Yeah. With the Lego Dimensions game, is one of the levels, when you play as Hartnell or something, are the levels black and white? Is that
I don't know, the levels aren't, but the TARDIS is. So when you go into
right.
the TARDIS, it's in black and white and it plays the old music.
So good.
And obviously, if you die, you just come back as the next Doctor. It's good fun.
Logic checks out. Very cool. Nice one,
Yeah.
dude. Nice one. Mr. Matt, how are you, dude?
I'm very well, thank you, Gary. I've Doctor Who related wise, I've just put out a new article for the continuation of Sarah Jane Adventures Beyond Bannerman Road. That's we see Rani and Clyde joined back together and fighting the good fight, basically, in new and mysterious ways, and see how they're doing, sort of 12 years on. And I absolutely loved it from start to finish. And yeah, I would really recommend to anybody that ever liked Sarah Jane Adventures to go and listen to that one straight away. I couldn't say anything bad about it. It was fantastic. Apart from that, really, I've had a bit of a quiet old time with Who recently. I've chatted to some nice people on our Discord server yesterday. They were really cool bunch of peeps on there.
Cool bunch, yeah.
And that's about it, really. Just I'm currently on holiday enjoying life, so I'm just happy.
A happy Matt is a good Matt. So yeah, Matt's on vacay at the minute, so yeah, can't expect him to lug his Doctor Who collection around and do all that. That's unreasonable to expect him to do that. So very good, very good. Maria, who's in the middle of nowhere in a huge Wi-Fi black spot currently, as long as this works.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yeah. How's things, Maria?
They're good at the moment. Not bad. I was off last week, so it was my birthday, and I made a decision a long time ago that I'm never going to work on my birthday. So I had the whole week off. So I had a good time. And because the weather was fantastic last week, it was a real opportunity to get out and about. I'm going to give a shout out for something that's not Doctor Who related, but I absolutely loved it. I went to see the Tina Turner musical. Is playing at the Aldwych Theatre, and it was fantastic.
That would be that Wi-Fi spot that we were talking about moments ago. Maria will be back on. If you've not listened to the Roundtable before, this is par for the course. So buckle in for this kind of thing happening. We have some reliable ones, We have some reliable ones. And then we have some people that live literally the most rural, areas where internet and Wi-Fi is it's just a myth, it seems, and just doesn't work. So
I was trying to come up with a Tina Turner based pun for Maria's internet problems, but all I've got is Nutbush data limits, which doesn't really work.
Nah, that's reasonable.
I'd come up with one, but
It's
it simply
simply the
wouldn't
best.
be the best. Oh, Jordan.
I was sat there then trying to think
Good
about
Lord.
Good Lord. Here she comes. She's coming back. Where is she? I think I can hear Maria. I can't see her. Anyway, Jordan, how have you been, dude?
I've been all right, Gary. Thank you. Yeah. I've been listening to a fair bit of Big Finish.
For a change.
What was the last one I listened to? I listened to the new Fourth Doctor box set with Tom Baker, Leela, and Nerys Hughes as Margaret. That was pretty good. But I've not really watched much Doctor Who. I think the only thing I've watched recently that had somebody in it from Doctor Who was Last Night in Soho, which had Matt Smith in it.
Okay.
And I wasn't expecting to enjoy it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But yeah, so I've been a bit quiet on the Doctor Who front for me. But
well, happens to all of us, mate. Happens to all of us, unless you're Harry, of course. and you end up just doing everything in a short space of time. Yeah, it's funny. The first couple of round tables, like, Harry, how you doing, buddy? Anything Doctor Who related? Yeah, just watched a thing, bit of an episode, and that's all I've done, really. I might kick off a marathon, I might not, I'm not sure. And now he's just like, yeah, I've done this thing, and I've been here. So that's amazing. Very cool. We've lost Jordan as well. So it's a good one. It's a good one. Right. We are going to crack straight on with this because it's now half past the hour, and we're running past our schedule. As you can probably guess, that's the case already. And as I said, the theme is, let's talk about some stories or scenarios where characters or situations or whatever it is from Doctor Who, we would like to see appear in some extended media. And that extended media could be anything. It could be comic books, it could be video games, it could be live, in-person stage events. It could be literally anything these guys want. So, who wants to go first? Let's go to Mark. Mark, dude, have you had any thoughts on this, bud? Any storylines that you've dreamt up while you've been having a shower or a walk or, anything like that, and you thought, you know what, that'd be banging as a insert media here?
Sure. So I think the main problem at the moment with Doctor Who spin-offs, and all Doctor Who spin-offs, they always try and be like, it's just Doctor Who, but with some kids in it, Sarah Jane Adventures, or it's just Doctor Who with all sex and stuff in it, like Torchwood. So I think but Doctor Who's such a rich thing. It can go into the past, go into the future. It can be anywhere. So it always seems a bit limiting to kind of stick it to the kind of contemporary Earth, John Pertwee model, but without the TARDIS and without the Doctor. So I think focusing on I've had this idea for a very long time, focusing on a character like Sabalom Glitz, I think would be amazing, because you could do just a space adventure series with a slightly scuzzy, dodgy character as your lead. And it would be the complete antithesis of Doctor Who, but it would have all the trappings of Doctor Who, so you could have him bumping into some of the other kind of nefarious sort of villains in Doctor Who, like Syl or people like that. Because I pitched this ages ago in a Screen Rant article about I think it was when we first started to kind of hear inklings of sort of Disney Plus Doctor Who. And I was like, well, Sabalom Glitz, do The Mandalorian, but Doctor Who. That'd be good. With Danny Dyer as Sabalom Glitz, that's my casting choice. Now that we've got Bonnie Langford back as Mel, I think we're close to this coming true. I'm very excited. I'm waiting for the call from Russell.
Okay, so I think I'm on board with that, dude. That does sound pretty cool. So if it's are we thinking just like a spin-off TV series here? Are we thinking?
Yeah, just like a proper TV series, maybe a 6 episodes, kind of mini series kind of thing.
Like they did
that'd be good.
With Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Kenobi show.
Yeah. And then just see where it goes. If it does well, then you commission a second series. Because the thing is with characters like that, that have only been in Doctor Who once or twice, but left an impression. There's so many places you can kind of go with them. Whereas I think we always fixate on characters like River Song, whose timeline kind of is hermetically sealed, regardless of what Big Finish kind of try and do with it. So yeah, I think that's surely the way to go, is you pick characters that, and I do think that's maybe why Russell's brought back Bonnie Langford, is that she is a companion who, let's face it, didn't have much of a story in her kind of first time round. So it's like, well, let's take her and just give her what she should have had in the 1980s. And my other pitch is a sitcom based on the Five-ish Doctors, where it's just Peter Davison, Colin Baker, and Sylvester McCoy getting into scrapes. I have set up a Twitter account for that one that tweets plot lines if it's you can find it.
You haven't.
I have you? Yeah, hang on, I'll give you one right now.
Okay.
Hello.
I'll give you one.
Yes.
And then another 2 if you need them. Go on.
Hey. All right, so What about this? Made a cost-cutting drive at Big Finish. Pete, Colin, and Sylvester each grow suspicious of their experiences of John Culshaw's erratic driving in the Big Finish car park. Comedy gold.
Comedy gold. I'm not set up a Twitter. What's the Twitter called, please?
It is. I think I just set it up as it's just @5. So the number 5-ish doctors, and it's basically what if Curb Your Enthusiasm, but with Doctor Who actors.
Oh, mate, I've got it here. I think. Plots from the unmade 5-ish Doctors sitcom.
Yeah.
Work permitting, of course. Yeah. Dude, that deserves a follow. Here we go. There we go. Nice. Okay. So, that second one sounds like quite whimsical and quite cool. But I'm into that first one, though. I must admit, because you do make a good point. I think a lot of times when I'm no expert, of course. I don't write for TV or anything, but it does seem like whenever TV writers or producers, whoever, are looking at spin-offs, it's typically you either get a character that's already well established and we kind of know a lot about them anyway. We're just doing a little bit more just on this other thing over here, this spin-off, and or it's set in the same location as the regular show, which sometimes is unavoidable, I think, with the whole the Walking Dead spin-off or the Game of Thrones spin-offs. You kind of have to set those in that similar arena, I guess, for the most part. But yeah, that's a great one, dude. That's a great one.
Thanks very much.
Very good. Thumbs up. Okay. Who's going to go next? Let's go to Maria before she vanishes.
Before I disappear again. I was in mid-flow, and every time I'm in mid-flow, I just disappear, don't I?
Tina Turner sounds good, though.
Yeah, no. For anyone that loves that music, it was absolutely fantastic. So thinking about it, I think my thinking on it is, obviously, if you're going to have things like extended universe stuff, media stuff, I think you need really strong characters. So it's got to be somebody that is recognisable, obviously, to Doctor Who fans, somebody that we would, really enjoy watching. I mean, I was kind of thinking it would be really cool to maybe have, maybe have a series. Because one of the things that frustrates me about Doctor Who sometimes is, the Doctor goes to a location, you never kind of see beyond that location. You don't get a sense of a kind of larger world, or a larger universe. That's one of the things that frustrates me a little bit, because we don't get to see that wider universe. So I actually really like the idea of this, extended media, and I think you could have characters that we've seen, like, for instance, Orsini and Bostock from Revelation of the Daleks, because I always like their kind of double act together, and they would be kind of much like Mark was saying about Sabalon Glitz. You need somebody that's going to kind of have that kind of dry sense of humour, that's going to kind of take you different places, but isn't sort of directly connected to the Doctor, but is aware of him. And obviously, has met him. So maybe something like a comic strip, maybe with those characters, or maybe just a spin-off would be quite nice. Cool. Obviously, somebody like Ace, who I think we've spoken about before, and kind of, Ace is quite a strong character as well. She's somebody that I think would work in, different types of things. So she could work in a spin-off. She could work in even a video game, possibly, and a comic strip. Because the thing is, sometimes with these characters, you don't know what's happened to them after the Doctor's kind of left them behind. So in that respect, she would be somebody that would be quite interesting. Aside from that, I'm not somebody that kind of, does actually buy a lot of the merchandise and buy a lot of this stuff. But I think it would still be interesting to see them, to see those characters. I mean, that was what I kind of thought of. I mean, I can't really think of anyone else really. Maybe see what some of the classic series companions are doing. I mean, I don't know whether anyone's interested in kind of seeing what happened with, once the Doctors left them all behind, and kind of maybe developing a series around that. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good shout. I like the idea that going to a planet or a world where an adventure has happened with the Doctor and whatever companion, and they've interacted with somebody or a group of people, then you don't really see them again. I think the first one that comes to my mind is, and there's probably loads, but the first one is it was a 10th Doctor and Donna story where I think it's called Planet of the Ood.
Yeah.
Is that so there's, that whole collection of Ood, and there's, and you find out there's a little bit of lore building there. You find out a little bit about why, you have like their brain in their hand versus, the light that they carry, and, some of their, sort of history a little bit, but that's kind of it. And, we get an Ood pop up, just literally just once or twice, maybe, a bit later on after that. But you don't really see what goes on that planet once the Doctor's left and once 10's regenerated. And, so yeah, I completely see that, and some of the classic stuff as well. And do you know what? Ace is a real funny one, because it felt like there was a time a couple of years ago when she was destined. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but you really felt like she was going to have a spin-off of some sort, because they brought her back for the trailer for the 7th Doctor Blu-ray, and she was running her own agency, and the trailer that they put together for that was really, really well done. And you could just picture Ace doing her thing in modern day adventures, a little bit like a kind of Sarah Janey kind of thing. And then there was the book that came out for her and some other bits, and you thought, right, it feels like they're building up to Ace doing something, but alas, it didn't happen. But yes, Ace is a good example where Mark mentioned that not necessarily visiting or using characters that you've seen a lot, but like some obscure character from whenever. So I guess Ace doesn't fall into that, but she is an interesting one in that I think her character's still got some legs. A bit like Bonnie Langford, I guess, but
Yeah, I think with Ace, what it is, I mean, she hasn't, like some of the other characters, like Jo, for instance, she's got a family, and, you've seen her grandson in Sarah Jane Adventures, but because it's not that same person, maybe that, because we're seeing extended family, it doesn't feel the same when you're watching them, if that kind of makes sense. It's a bit like the daughter of the Brigadier. I mean, as lovely as that character is, I don't get a sense of her connection to her father. Only occasionally has that happened, where they've obviously shoehorn something in about her and her father. I mean, it would have been more powerful if they'd met, or if we'd seen them together, maybe originally, and then she came into the series later on. And it just I prefer it when it's somebody that we've already seen. And I think with Ace, because she hasn't got any ties, she hasn't got family, she's quite an independent kind of character. I think she can go in so many different ways, if that kind of makes sense. Whereas with other characters, maybe they're tied down a little bit more. And I don't know, that's the way I kind of feel about it. Like you said, I think she's got legs, and there are some characters that don't. It'll be really interesting to see what they do with Mel when she comes back, and what has that gap been? What has she done in that gap from the last time? Yeah,
of course. Yeah, that'll be good. Okay, Maria, nice one. Yeah, I do like, again, I like the idea of visiting other places and people that have only had a brief moment of screen time, and diving into that stuff a little bit more. Okay, Matt, if you're up for it, dude, what's your take on this? What's rattling around in that big old brain of yours?
I would say I'm mainly going to focus on non sort of TV show ideas. However, one that did come to me, Paul McGann. Now, wouldn't that be amazing? I mean, there's so much you could do. He's still got it. He still looks the part. I mean, you saw that in The Power of the Doctor. He's absolutely, still the Doctor. I would love to see him on screen. I think he deserves it. We deserve it, and that everybody that I've ever spoken to about it would love to see him back on our screen. Yes, he's done absolutely fantastic work with Big Finish over the years, but I know, listening to convention recently, it was actually a Christopher Eccleston convention panel, and there was lots of people saying, "Oh, I've never heard of Big Finish until today," and it just makes me a bit sad that people aren't. They might not necessarily have heard of that, and they're missing out on so much. Where if you were to introduce McGann into a new series, perhaps, then I think he would get the recognition he deserves a lot more. And I'd just love to see any more of McGann on screen that I could, really. But aside from that, I would absolutely love to see Battles in Time, the trading card game, back
Nice.
in the shelves. I absolutely adored that as a child. It was when everybody in the playground was talking Doctor Who. Are you going to watch it this Saturday, sort of thing? And it was everywhere. And one of the pinnacles of the day was to go over to the newsagents after school, with your pocket money, and buy a couple of these Battles in Times packets and trade them with your mates and have a grand old time. And I think merchandise as a whole has been somewhat lacking in, I don't want to put a damper on it, but in Jodie's run, merchandise, let's be honest, was a bit thin on the ground. I'd love to see more variants of different types of merchandise coming through to Shooty's run and RTD's new era as a whole. I think it would, to see it all on the shelves, I think it will pull a lot more, especially kids, into the series, which, as much as we love it, it is a family show and it's predominantly based for kids. And I think that would be a really good way to go for it.
I see. Okay, so in a nutshell then, more McGann.
Always more
not
McGann.
just on Big Finish, right? But so you're saying more McGann because there's a huge chunk of people out there that have not listened to any of his adventures on Big Finish, and so it would be great to just expose just some of the awesomeness of that Doctor, to people that have not into sort of audio dramas, right? Not into Big Finish, so. That's cool.
Definitely.
And then the Battles in Time stuff, the cards, yes, definitely do that, because like the popularity of trading cards and game stuff, if you've not been into them, or if you've not you're just not aware of that stuff, it is pretty incredible how much those things are still around. Like loads of other franchises and other bits and bobs that have their own trading card stuff.
Definitely,
millions
yeah.
of people like that stuff. It's just, it kind of simmers under the radar and you don't really notice it. It's not sort of mainstream stuff, but yeah, dude, those Battles in Time cards, they were very cool. Yeah.
I feel also they could do so much more with it than the original run. You take ideas from, like you say, the other trading cards that are out there now, say Pokemon or Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh or something like that. They have so many different variants of these cards that people chase for. And I mean, there was the Super Rose back in Battles in Time, but that was
Super
almost
Rose.
impossible to get. Yeah. But now you could have a solid pack at I don't know, the average retail price £4, and everyone's going to flock to buy them. I can just see it being this massive thing that it's just, I can't understand why it hasn't become a thing until now, sort of thing. Yeah, I know that there is some special 60th Magic the Gathering Doctor Who cards coming out, and I was really hyped for that until I saw the price. And I think that's just the complete wrong way to go about it, because only collectors are going to be buying that. So only die-hard fans are going to be buying that. If you were to price it at a much more family-orientated price and get it out in the shops instead of purely online, I think it could have such a knock-on effect with new audiences coming in.
Mm-hmm. That's very true, dude. I think with the trading card stuff, the appeal with the Doctor Who Battles in Time was, like you said, you got the magazine and then you got the card to go with. It's all good. It didn't quite go the same way with the Torchwood ones. So in 2000 and something, they did a Torchwood version, but you didn't get the magazine or any kind of additional stuff. You just got the pack of cards, and that was it. And that kind of flopped, really. Nobody ever talks about the Torchwood stuff, the trading card stuff anyway. But there was 200 of them. There was 250 cards for Torchwood, which is incredible, really, because there's not that many characters in Torchwood. But anyway, it was interesting. But yeah, okay, dude, I'm with you on that one. Cards and McGann, good. Okay, let's go to Harry. I know Harry's got a banger. I know it.
I actually have 4 not very fully formed ideas, which are so not fully formed that I'm going to sort of rattle through them all. But before I do, Matt talking about the Eighth Doctor spin-off idea made me think about an interaction that I had with Paul McGann at this convention that I went to. I said to him, I thought you were really great in Power of the Doctor. And he said, oh, yeah, the one with Jodie. Yeah. And I was just like, yeah, it was great to see you on TV. Yeah, hopefully there will be more. And he didn't respond to that comment. And then I just sort of said, so can I have an autograph? Now, either, and possibly very likely, he's heard that thousands of times, and it's kind of one of those things that he's just like, yeah, I'll just, sort of desensitized to that comment. But it kind of got me thinking, is he avoiding commenting on that because like he's filmed something for the 60th anniversary, or like maybe Disney Plus spin-offs, all those stuffs? Maybe he has a spin-off coming. I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that out there for all of us hoping for more Paul McGann on TV. But yeah, just wanted to share that. Nice. So my spin-off ideas. Now I feel like a variation of this has been done with Big Finish, but I would really love to see sort of a standalone Master spin-off on TV, akin to something like Marvel's Loki, where he's sort of like a villain anti-hero type, and it could be we just follow the latest iteration of the Master. I'd love to see Sacha Darwin's Master as the centerpiece of something like that, or they did a book, BBC Books, they did a book called I Am the Master, which was a anthology of different incarnations of the Master. They had like their own little short stories and stuff. Something like that would be really, really cool. I'd be really on board with. I'd love to see something like maybe like an epic sort of novel featuring like all of the Doctors. So like kind of like all 15, however many of them there are, something in the vein of like Babel Colours, the 10 Doctors. Because, you couldn't do something like that for the TV series because, some of them have passed away and some of them look quite different. Not that, everyone cares about that. It certainly didn't matter in Power of the Doctor. But I feel like a grand epic multi-Doctor story sort of in novel format where we can imagine like all of these Doctors coming together in like an Infinity War Endgame type crossover of some kind for an anniversary would be really, really cool. I'd really like to read that. I know that sort of the multi-Doctor story is kind of becoming a bit of a gimmick at this point for a lot of fans, but I'd personally just really like to see that. It's always something which I always like to imagine all the Doctors kind of coming together, even if it might be cliche at this point. Another idea, I really like the Supernatural episode, if anyone's seen Supernatural. The French Mistake, where the two main characters, Sam and Dean, go into a parallel universe. Yeah, Matt's nodding. Matt knows what I'm talking about. Sam and Dean go into a parallel universe where Supernatural is a TV show, and then everyone calls them by the actor's name. They call them Jared and Jensen, and they meet Misha Collins, who's the actor who plays Castiel, and all sorts of funny things happen there. It's a very meta episode. I'd love a very meta episode of Doctor Who where the Doctor goes into a parallel universe where Doctor Who's a TV show, and he goes to a convention, and you have to see the Doctor sort of playing himself. That's not really a spin-off idea as such. It's more just kind of a fun sort of romp episode idea. And the final thing I said was horror inspired takes on classic monsters. I really like the idea of kind of R-rated, darker representations of classic villains such as the Daleks or the Cybermen or the Weeping Angels and I imagine that as kind of an anthology series as well. And particularly what I think would make it a lot scarier is rather than have the Doctor go up against these monsters, because we've seen him go against the Daleks tens of times by this point, and it's not exactly a novel thing. Sort of introduce new characters to go up against these monsters. I don't know, what if there was a Weeping Angel invasion in a small village? Well, I suppose actually that was done in Chris Chibnall's era, but maybe you know what I mean, some just a kind of darker sort of iteration of monsters who we've kind of almost gotten used to and perhaps aren't as scared of anymore. Something like that would be cool. So there's my those are all of my ideas.
Wowzers. Okay. Well, Russell, you are welcome, as always, mate. I know you listen. I know you've got the notepad out. I tell you what, if there's an R-rated Doctor Who thing that pops up on Disney Plus within the next 3 years, Harry, you can make a claim here, mate. You can make a claim for sure.
Well, you heard it here first, folks.
Indeedy, yeah. Okay, dude, some awesome ideas there. And I love them all, of course. But one thing that I thought was very cool, which kind of is very similar to an idea that I had, which I'll come on to after Jordan, was the more darker / horror based stuff that goes on with Doctor Who, because I'll go on to that in a second. But yeah, I just like the idea of that, because I'm a big fan, and I think a lot of people are, of the creepier, spookier Doctor Who stories, where we don't want to see them all the time, but the ones that do pop up that are quite creepy, they just make for they break the series up nicely. It's not all, happy-go-lucky, Doctor saves the day, one-liners and stuff like that. It does provide a much different and needed vibe change to a series, and they are good.
I think, to be honest, the reason why perhaps the Angels were so scary to start with was because, the Doctor wasn't in that episode very much. And, the Doctor's normally, I find, that kind of reassuring, that constant figure that's always there. He's always going to save the day. Without him there, that perhaps made the Angels scarier. So having that be the concept, the framing device, if you will, for a spin-off, might be quite something. So yes, copyright. I'm going to copyright that idea.
Very good, very nice. Okay, nice one, dude. I knew you had a couple of bangers in there. I knew they were knocking around in that head of yours. Very nice. Lastly, Jordan, let's get your take on this stuff, dude. What you saying?
Well, I love the idea of doing sort of horror episodes. So long as we don't go down the route of Zygon, when being you just isn't enough, we'll be. I know Mark knows what I'm talking about. Those of you who know, but so long as we don't go down that route, we will be just fine. But no, I like the idea of sort of horror versions. And otherwise, I think if we're sort of talking about like Disney Plus things, I've always thought a good idea would be something like, what were other companions doing during the Stolen Earth and Journey's End? Because you think you've got presumably Mel's on Earth by that point, Joe's on Earth by that point. You've got loads of companions on Earth. What are they thinking when all of a sudden the Daleks have stolen the Earth and they've turned up and they're, sort of killing people and exterminating? What are they doing? So I've sort of very often thought maybe you could do, maybe Big Finish will do it, I don't know, but sort of like one episode would be a different companion or a different character who have met the Daleks before, and then all of a sudden, they've turned up. So that could possibly be a good idea.
Indeedy, yes.
Mm.
Okay, and in what kind of media would this happen? Would this be?
You could probably do it on. I mean, you could probably do it sort of anyway. You could probably do it on television. I think I would prefer it on television.
Okay.
You could do it. You could do it with Big Finish, or you could do it as a book. You could do a collection of short stories as a book. I think that could be quite interesting. That could work.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I very often wondered, what would they have been thinking? All of a sudden, all these Daleks suddenly turn up. The Earth has vanished. Maybe Davros has made almost like a sort of Suicide Squad sort of Daleks that are specifically designed to go out after friends and allies and things, and the Doctor to sort of maybe he knows that ultimately the Doctor will stop him. So if he tries to take away as many of his friends as he possibly can,
nice.
That could possibly work.
Okay, I like it. Very cool. Okay, yeah, I like the. Talking of, you mentioned it could be anything. What are your guys' thoughts on doing this? Because we've spoken about sort of your ideas around. Yeah, we could do this, and it would. You feel like it would work well as a TV spin-off, or it could be, a book or a comic strip, whatever it might be. Star Wars tries this from time to time, where there'll be a Disney Plus run, and then alongside that there'll be a comic book that supports that, and then there'll be like an audio book, and then there'll eventually be a novel and stuff like that, like this connected tissue. And I know that we've spoken a few times about this before, where Doctor Who has done this multimedia, multi-platform sort of storytelling. What do you guys think that is a good way of managing these additional stories outside of the main TV run, or should it be isolated to just like the Doomsday stuff that we've got coming up, which we know is going to be a couple of books and a comic strip and I think a Big Finish thing or whatever it might be? Do you guys think that stuff has potential and does work? Because the only downside that I see to that is it's really prone to spoiler stuff. If you're the sort of person that loves that stuff and you buy everything, each part of the puzzle, then that's fantastic. But if you only get the book and then you don't do this other stuff, and then somebody says, "Oh, I've just seen this thing on Twitter, it's really good," you're like, crap, I was going to watch that bit next week. Does that stuff work for you guys, or would you like to see your ideas just be that one thing and just appear on that thing, if you know what I mean?
I don't know, because I did a bit of Time Lord Victorious, but I think the problem I have, and I think it goes back to what Matt was saying about trading cards and things like that. It can be, especially at the moment, for God's sake, it can be prohibitively expensive to kind of say to people, all right, we've got this amazing new Doctor Who story that you can only enjoy if you buy a video game, a book, a comics, like a sort of couple of comics every week, all this kind of stuff. And I think actually because it's the BBC, I think they're slightly hamstrung with that because they're a public service broadcaster. I know it's the corporate arm that deals with it. I think they can't push it as far as Disney would with Star Wars. So it kind of falls between two stools in the sense that the books kind of just stand alone. The comic strip kind of stands alone. So you don't get that big story. So it kind of feels like, what's the point? And what's the point in spending all that money when it doesn't really amount to some amazing story? Because ultimately, these things never impact the main TV show. Mm-hmm. Like Time Lord Victorious, you know, the 10th Doctor met the 8th Doctor, the 9th Doctor. Never heard about it because obviously it didn't, you know, it's a past Doctor story that took place in some books and has no real bearing on the. So it's hard to care. But then I don't know. I'm a 38-year-old man. Maybe I was, you know, bored of it all. I don't know. Maybe it really works with kids and stuff like that. But I just think it's just a bit dodgy. Kind of expecting people to kind of fork out loads of money to enjoy new Doctor Who, where you could just kind of do stuff on the iPlayer on Disney, because especially now they've got that kind of co-production money with Sony and Disney. It does mean that it's no longer just a BBC thing, and it means that obviously whatever spin-offs are produced with that Disney money don't even necessarily have to be on a channel on the BBC. They just go on the iPlayer. You know, like Battlestar Galactica's on there at the moment. There's various shows that aren't actually airing on the BBC but are stored on the iPlayer. So it is just like a free streaming service, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great point. And I know it's not a direct or a fair comparison, like apples and oranges, but the Marvel stuff does that very well on Disney Plus, where alongside the main shows or the movies that are on there, they also do these other little things like the What If series, where that's a separate run, but it sits right alongside all the other Marvel TV shows that you would go, and so you almost bump into it even when you're looking for the main shows on there. Whereas on iPlayer, you don't really get that. You have the modern Doctor Who run, and because of contracts and everything, and that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else. Is Class on there? Class might be on there, or is that BritBox? Can't remember. But I know that Sarah Jane's on BritBox, Doctor Who's on iPlayer. You know, I don't know where Class sits. It's one of the
Sarah
two.
Jane's back on iPlayer now.
Okay, right.
If I remember rightly, because there was a thing in the magazine a few months back where Russell T was talking about it, and he had to sort of slightly re-edit one episode or something. So, and I think his plan is to get it all back up on the iPlayer. So you're going to have classic Doctor Who on the iPlayer and things like that for the 60th, which is great. And I think, and it speaks to, I think, his vision for it, which is that when he first brought it back, it was like, oh, for God's sake, don't mention the past. I want to try and get like a new audience. Now I think he's approaching it as this kind of massive, overarching 6 decades long story that you can just pick up wherever you like.
Which makes sense, I guess, when you look at it as because a lot of people in the past have said, when you look at the bigger picture of Doctor Who, but when they say that, they just mean classic Who. They just mean like some stories from classic Who and like the newer stuff. But yeah, when you do look at the entire picture, so on iPlayer, if you had all of Doctor Who, all of Sarah Jane, all of K9 and Company, you know what I mean? When you have the entire thing on there, Harry's like, K9 and Company. It's, I know exactly what you mean, dude. And I'm the same opinion in that it's a lot to expect somebody to pick up various pieces of media to follow one story, because all it does is just, there's a lot of people that are not even on board at the beginning because you've decided before they've even come out, well, I'm not going to get all that, I can't be arsed with all that, you know. And then you have the other people that are kind of on the fence, and they'll pick up the first thing, whatever that ends up being, whether it's the big finished story or the book or the comic. You'll get that first bit, and then you sort of tail off before it's finished, and then you have this little collection of people who are the diehards, and you know, they'll just get everything. So, in terms of spin-off stuff, especially like this Doomsday thing, I can't imagine it's going to set the world on fire. But at the same time, you know, who knows? Okay, if there are no further thoughts from anyone on that stuff, I'll very, very quickly give you my idea on this stuff. I've got two small rubbishy ideas. The first one is, a lot of you guys have spoken about TV spin-offs or stuff that you would like to appear on TV. I'm going to go down the video game route for a second, because it was quite poignant that you mentioned the Lego game market earlier on about the Dimensions in Time stuff. I don't think we've had anywhere near the amount of good quality Doctor Who video games. The most that we've had, and I've started thinking about this the other day as well when Matt mentioned the Grask video game. What was it? The Attack of the Grask. You know, that sort of little interactive game that. And then the Lego game. The Lego game is the best we've had, but I would love to see. And the reason why I thought of it also is because I've played the heck out of the recent Jedi Survivor video game, and I like how what that does is it's introduced another character to us, which it did in the first game anyway, but it doesn't bog itself down with too much mainstream stuff that's going on. If anyone's a fan of Star Wars and knows what happens in that little pocket of time, which is essentially, the Jedi surviving post Order 66, it's like a big world event that's happening over here. And if you watch the films and all that sort of stuff, you know about all the big tentpole characters and what they're up to. But then over here, you've got this literally an entire galaxy to explore, and this storyline for another character that's tentatively sort of dips in and out of the main storyline and the main plot and everything. But it's very much its own story, but it just immediately feels like it's in the Star Wars universe. So a video game around Doctor Who, which is, unshamedly just basically a clone of that, which is you're playing as a character, but not the Doctor. So you pick a big event that's happened across the Doctor's timeline that's maybe something that's affecting the entire universe, whether that's the flux thing or whether that's, something else, like the Stolen Earth, that whole thing. And then alongside that, you're this other character, and the things that you're doing they don't impact on what happens with the Doctor and the outcome, but it influences it just very slightly. So if the Doctor didn't bump into this person in that adventure, that stuff wouldn't happen. But the only reason he's bumped into that character is because in the game you've made that happen. So it's like a kind of, it's a thing where you explore. You've got your own version of a TARDIS. You can go off and do what you want. You've got a sonic screwdriver. You're doing all this stuff, but it's leagues ahead of just press jump now to jump over the Grask, or like press this button to do this thing. It's like a proper AAA big money video game that's so I would love to see that. I'd love to see a really good quality Doctor Who video game. And then the other thing, Harry mentioned it pretty much anyway in his ideas, where I'd love to see a more adult R-rated, and I don't mean that as in sort of Torchwood sexy time. I mean more like horror-based late night stuff that really is behind the sofa stuff, where there's just more creepier stuff going on. So, but I'm just a fan of that personally, the whole horror aspect of that stuff. And I know a lot of people who are, like, many times when I've spoken to groups of friends and other people at conventions and stuff, that's come up quite a lot, the creepier episodes and wanting to do that. So yes, more video games needed, and more less Torchwood, but still more adulty stuff, I guess. And that probably would be TV.
Just say that I'll pop in a plug for Harry's really cool article that delves into the video games side of Doctor Who. Well worth a listen. Well worth a read. It's really, really good, and goes through from the very beginning. And I think I agree wholeheartedly. There needs to be something really good come in. That nearly there with the things that May's Theory have brought out. But yeah, I would go and check out Harry's article if you want to know more about the video games.
I will jump in and say thank you very much, Matt. Somebody on the Discord actually pointed out that there were some earlier examples than I think it was Destiny of the Doctors that I started off with, that I hadn't included in the article. So my research wasn't actually that as comprehensive as I thought it was. But
you missed Dalek Attack. That was a belter when I was a kid. Dalek Attack.
Yeah. And I mean, to be honest, I'm kind of showing my my youth, I suppose. But yes, I would recommend going on like a sort of like Doctor Who wiki hunt, as well as reading my article. And also Matt did a really good article on the Lonely Assassins, so make sure you check that out as well. Let's just plug each other's articles, guys.
You guys. Look. So Matt's article, Adventures Through Space and Time, Doctor Who in Video Games. I'll link to that in the show notes. And also Matt's article, which I think was a wee bit just before that, I think. I will link to Matt's article as well. In fact, let me just do that. Sorry, as you were, listener, just while I get this, otherwise I'll forget and never do it. All articles by Matt. Where are we? There we go. Doctor Who, The Lonely Assassins game review. I've got it. Yeah, so I'll put a link to both of those in the show notes. So go and check those out. Some very cool, comprehensive reviews and some cool research from Harry on those old video games, up to recent video games, I guess. But
the Lonely Assassin, was that the one that you could download on your phone? Because I think I downloaded one. Yeah, I never got to the end of it. I got really frustrated with it. I kind of got stuck at one point, and then I couldn't move any further. So yeah.
What they don't tell you about that game is that you need to have like a notepad and paper while you're playing it, because like there are things that you have to sort of remember, which the game doesn't tell you that you have to remember. I mean, I suppose it's good that it doesn't hold your hand in that way, but that was a bit frustrating. But it's a good game on the whole. Very atmospheric.
There's also a very there's also a slightly secret ending as well. If you manage to 100% the game, there's a very, very cool little snippet of Doctor Who-ness. I shall leave it at that right at the end, but that's only if you get everything.
Okay. Can you still get it? Can you still is it on the App Store or App Stores, whatever? Yes,
and it's quite often on sale. I see Maze Theory retweeting sales all the time, so you can pick it up, and it's I wholeheartedly recommend it. And it is there's parts of it that I would recommend playing it in a dark room at night time.
Of course,
it's that it is peak scariness. Just at that point, it's brilliant.
Also, it is on consoles, I believe, but it is best played on a mobile phone.
There you go. There you have it. Once you've listened to this, hop over to the App Store. And there you go. That's your evening sorted.
I would just say the last Doctor Who video game I remember.
Yeah, I was gonna say there was a couple of points when I was playing that game where there was some jump scares in it. And it actually did make me jump. But yeah, I never got to the end of it. But well done to anybody that did.
Okay. Yeah. Download it again, Maria. Give it another go.
Give it another go. Yeah.
Sorry, Jordan. What was the last games that you played?
The Top Trumps game that used to be out on. I think it was Nintendo DS. That's how long ago I was playing.
No, I remember that. Yeah. No, very cool. Okay.
Oh dear.
Right. On that note, then let's wrap it up there for the June roundtable. Maria, it's been very cool as always to get your thoughts. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Gary. I'm sorry, I've been jumping in and out today, so I probably missed bits that were brilliant from everyone else. But thanks very much. It's been brilliant getting together again. I always love doing these.
No worries. Thank you very much, Jordan. Thank you very much, buddy.
Oh, thank you for having me. I will just say to anybody who goes out now and watches Zygon when being you, it just isn't enough. Please do not come and attack me on anything. If it disturbs you, I'm sorry. I just don't watch it, or do, but don't. Please don't.
Don't watch
please
it,
don't attack us.
But then don't. Yeah. No, that's cool, dude. Thank you very much, Harry. Thank you very much as always, buddy.
I just Googled what Jordan was talking about and tread carefully, listener. Yes, thank you so much, Gary.
It's anything on Torchwood.
Honest, I mean, yeah. It's been great as always. You've all been awesome. Thank you.
No worries. Matt, your Wi-Fi held out in the end, dude. Not too bad. Thank you very much.
Not too bad. Yeah, thank you very much for having me. I can currently only see you and me, but I assume everyone's still there. So, yes, thank you very much for having me, and I'll see you on the next one.
Cool. And lastly, Mr. Mark, thank you as always, buddy.
You're very welcome. And Zygon, when being you isn't enough, was, I think, Bill Baggs' attempt to do low-budget Torchwood. So make of that what you will.
Yeah.
Don't have nightmares.
I love that. Don't have nightmares. He signed off with that. Lovely. Okay, I'm going to run the theme tune. Let's see if we can do the Allons-y in a second. This is going to be interesting. But thank you very much. That was a June Roundtable. Thank you, Big Blue Box listener, for listening to another month and another roundtable. That was all of us going through our ideas for spin-offs, extended media, stories we want to see, characters we want to see, all that stuff. It's been fascinating. So thank you very much, guys, for taking the time out of your evening to talk about all that stuff. It really has been very cool, because you can only get so much from a tweet or a Discord message or whatever it might be. So yes, thank you very much. As I said at the beginning, make sure that you are following or subscribing to the podcast in whatever app you listen to your podcasts on, or you can just do a search for us on all the directories of Big Blue Box. You'll find us on there. Give us a like and a follow as we put out the monthly roundtables until the weekly apps are back to rocking and rolling. And even then, we'll still be doing the monthly roundtables. So yeah, make sure you're subscribing to listen to this lot every month. Also, check out their articles and reviews over on the website, which is bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk, and we're on the socials too. Give us a like and a follow there so we can chat Doctor Who with you there. And we have a very cool free Discord server. There's a link on the website. Hop in there and chat Doctor Who with lots of other cool Who fans. Alrighty, until next month with this lot, take care of yourself and remember,